5 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Hit it, hit it, hit it. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I got the first beat. So the fifth beat is me.
You want the dot? Yeah, right.
It's Giordano and the Nighthawks.
1, 2, 1. Thank you so much. Welcome to Birdland. We're so happy that you're here. Birdland on West 44th Street. I'm telling that to all the folks that are watching our broadcast right now on Radio Free Birdland. We are the Nighthawks, music of the 1920s and 30s, and I'm your leader for this segment of the show. I'm Vince Giordano. Thank you so much. And that tune that we just played for you was a Duke Ellington composition from 1926 called The Creeper. The Creeper. Duke Ellington got in the studios with his first big band there and made that wonderful recording, which is by the way, it was transcribed by Andy Stein there. All right, we had Joe Boga playing some nice hot trumpet solos there. Peter Aaron playing some nice breaks on the piano. Sam Chess on the trombone. and the guy playing all that great alto work from 1926. It's unbelievable. That's Will Anderson. Will Anderson. There you go. Nice. Wow. We're going to have the guys talk a little bit more as the time goes on. We opened up with a fanfare, which we do every night here. It's the Universal Theme Fanfare written by Jimmy McHugh, and we're so happy that our drummer remembered to bring his timpani all the way from Brooklyn. That's Uri Zelig back there on the timpani. Oh yeah, there you go. All right. Well, before we get into the show, I just want to mention that I don't know about you folks, but to me, it looks like two guys in this band look the same. No, not you two guys. No, try it again. Who's next? Second time. You get it? No, not you two guys. No, the third time is the winner. There they are. The Anderson brothers. Hit it. Oh, yeah. Nice. Ouch. There they are. That's Will Anderson and Peter Anderson. And then our other reed man is Hans Christian Andersen. That's it. No, that's Dan Levenson. I'm just kidding. That's kidding. And I like to share the microphone with the guys because they do some fantastic things when they're not being on the Nighthawk stage. So might as well give the microphone over to Will Anderson and let him tell his story and contribute to a thing what I call the Nighthawk Home Shopping Network. Tell it, Will.
All right, thank you, Uncle Vince. How about a hand for Vince Giordano up there? Yeah. I wanted to let you know I will be upstairs in the upper level of Birdland every Saturday in August at 5:30 p.m. with my quintet. And each week I'll be joined by a special guest. The first week my brother will be with me. Then Sam Chess will be with me another week. Joe Bogo will be there another week. Filling in for me another week will be John Eric Kelso. But check that out every Saturday in August upstairs. Also, I wanted to mention I have a product available for sale tonight. Now, it's not a CD, it's not an LP. It actually dates back much further than LPs, back to the 1400s, to the Gutenberg printing press.
Wow.
I wrote an old-fashioned book. It's called Songbook Summit, 15 Pioneers of American Sound, and it chronicles the life stories of America's great composers like Gershwin, Berlin, Porter, as well as many of the great musicians like Duke Ellington and Louis Armstrong. So come check that out. It's actually free of charge, but my autograph is $20 and it's a package deal. You can't get one without the other, so check that out.
All right,
Thank you.
that's Will Anderson. Nice. All right, we're going to play one more fast tune. This one's written by Walter Donaldson and Gus Kahn. Eddie Cantor introduced it in a show called Whoopee, and then he later did it in the movie, same name, Whoopee, when he went out to Hollywood. It's called My Baby Just Cares for Me. 1, 2, 1, 2. My baby don't care for shows. baby don't care for clothes. My baby just cares for me. Now my baby don't care for furs and laces. My baby don't care for high-tone places. My baby don't care for rings or other expensive things. She's sensible as can be. My baby don't care who knows it. My baby just cares for me. Dan Levenson on the clarinet. Matt was moving so fast, I didn't get a chance to, give the announcement who was playing, but we'll let Dan talk in a little bit. We're going to slow things down right now and play a song that we had a request from last night, and we ran out of time. It's a very slow-moving tune that originally featured a wonderful trumpet man named Jabbo Smith. And Jabbo Smith was a contemporary of folks like Louis Armstrong and Hot Lips Page and all those wonderful hot trumpet players from the 1920s. And he got into a band called the Charlie Johnson Paradise 10 Band. That was a great band up in Harlem. Not too well remembered these days. Anyway, the great Jan Stolber transcribed this for us many years ago, and it's called The Boy in the Boat. And I think we're going to feature Joe Boog on this, right? And get those clarinets going. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, sir. All right. Joe Boga there on The Boy in the Boot. Special request from last night. All right. A little bit of Sam Chess on the trombone and our wailing saxophones. There was great, guys. Thank you. All right. Here's a song that we like to play from time to time, written by a fellow named Maceo Pinkard. Who's Maceo Pinkard? Well, he was a composer. I guess he played a little piano, and he wrote some tunes that you should know, like Sweet Georgia Brown and Them There Eyes. He also wrote a tune called I'll Be a Friend with Pleasure that Bix Beiderbecke played at the end of his life. And this tune was introduced originally by the great Ethel Waters back in 1925. It's called Sweet Man, and this is a version that was done by the California Ramblers, a band up in Westchester. It had nothing to do with California. Andy Stein took this off a recording many, many years ago, and here it is, Sweet Man. 1, 2, 1, 2. Andy Stein on that hot violin. And let's see who else we had on there. And more Dan Levenson, I believe, on the clarinet. Was you on the clarinet or the alto? I forget.
Neither. That was me, yes.
Okay. Well, let's get Dan to do a little talking right now. I know he's usually got something good to say on the Nighthawk Home Shopping Network.
Tonight, though.
If you're ready.
I should mention that Vince and John Eric and I have a couple of albums we did. Well, we recorded them a while back. They've finally been issued on vinyl and CD by the Rivermont label, and they're available back here. This one is a tribute to Fred Teschmacher, the Austin High Band, all the early Chicago jazz pioneers of the 1920s, who Eddie Condon and Jimmy McPartland, Bud Freeman, and all those guys. It's a great album. George Washington produced it, legendary producer. That's available back there. We also did a tribute to Bix Beiderbecke, and that has been reissued on the Turtle Bay label, and features John and Vince and a great lineup of musicians. If they're if you're watching at home there, you can find them on the Turtle Bay Records website and the Rivermont Records website. Thank you.
That's Dan Levenson. All right. Well, speaking of Bix Beiderbecke, here's a tune that Bix played. Bix was a wonderful cornet player, also played some wonderful piano from Davenport, and this is called the Baltimore. It was a dance that they try to popularize, like the Charleston or the Black Bottom. It never really captured the audience. I mean, I think people were so saturated with new dances out there that it just became a nice pop tune. And thank goodness that Bix and Frankie Trombauer recorded it. We want to mention that the Bix Beiderbecke Memorial Society is going to be happening this July 31st to August 3rd. So if you're out there in Davenport, check it out. It's a lot of great fun, a lot of fun. Anyway, this is called the Baltimore, and Tom Roberts took this off the record for us way back many years ago. And yeah, it's a band that Frankie Trombauer and Adrian Laney had together, and we're going to play it for you now. 1, 2, 1, 2. That's the Baltimore, and some nice solos there from Andy Stein on the violin doing Joe Venuti. That was Devin Cortan playing the Eddie Lang solo on the guitar. John Kelso on the trumpet doing the Bix Beiderbecke. Nice solo there. And that was yours truly on the bass saxophone too. Getting some of the notes. There you go. Well, Baltimore, great city, and our next composer came from Baltimore. His name was U.B. Blake. I got a chance to meet U.B. Blake way back in the late 70s. Actually got to visit his house. And he wrote some beautiful things like Memories of You and this hot number called I'm Just Wild About Harry. And he talked about growing up in Baltimore in those crazy youthful days. Many stories which I can't repeat right now. But anyway, this came from a show called Shuffle Along. This is a 1930s arrangement of it, and I figured he was going to solo on it, but they'll do a good job. I'm Just Wild About Harry. 1, 2, 1, 1. Will Anderson. I'm Just Wild About Harry. Something that featured the brothers there, Will Anderson there on the clarinet and Peter Anderson on the tenor. How about that? They do look the same, don't they? All right. All right, time to slow things down right now and play a song that we play every show because it's just a great song and very important in the world of jazz, very important in the world of Louis Armstrong. And we all know who Louis Armstrong is. Wonderful New Orleans trumpet player and a great man in the world of jazz. And we're still studying his music. I think Ricky Riccardi has now finished his 4th book about Louis Armstrong. What more could be said? But he says it all. And there's still things coming up. And we like to ask you all, if you can, to go visit the great Louis Armstrong House Museum out there in Queens. You've come to Birdland, which is great, but go out and check this place. You take this number 7 train out there, and we have some cards, so check that out. Both our trumpet players have been there many times and actually brought their mouthpiece and were able to blow on Louis Armstrong's great golden trumpet. This was an important piece of music in Louis Armstrong's career and for jazz, like I said, because it just created a stir. This wonderful cadenza that he plays up front, and then everything that he puts into it for the rest of the old OK 78 RPM record really just made a lot of people write about it and talk about it. And the tune was written by his musical father, a fella that got him out of New Orleans, a guy named Joe Oliver, also known as King Oliver. And here it is, the West End Blues. How about those clarinets there? Oh, man. That's Peter Yaron doing the Earl Father Hines solo. Give him a nice hand. How about John Kelso there on the trumpet? Wow, the West End Blues. Oh man, well, while we got everyone focused on you, why don't you grab the microphone and do your little bit for the Nighthawk Shopping Network?
Okay, sure thing. So in addition to playing here regularly on Mondays and Tuesdays, I have a Sunday steady gig that's, as of this month, been going for 18 years at a great old place called the Ear Inn. The Ear Inn is down on Spring Street on the far west side. And we have a lot of fun there. We have guests joining us, making the personnel a little bit different each week. And we have a new Live at the Ear Inn CD, which just happens to be back yonder next to the other things that are for sale. So go take a look when you get a chance. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, John Kelso. Wow. And great solo there by Sam Chess on the trombone. And you might have noticed something different with the clarinets. Yeah, they were playing their megaphones, their clarinet megaphones. Not too often do you see people on West 44th Street with megaphones these days. You see a lot of other things, but those megaphones weren't on the original date. They were just added by yours truly here to kind of jazz it up. Maybe someone out there in Hollywood land wants something special for their next motion picture. Right. Okay. Moving along. Here's the wonderful Peter Yaron there recreating Earl Father Hines' solo, which was great. Peter Yaron there? Yeah, man. Okay, I loved it. And we always like to talk about what happens in the percussion session. Well, on that date, a guy named Zooty Singleton was on the date, and he had these little cymbals called the Baccarat cymbals. And we finally found a set. And here's Yuri Zelig to demonstrate the best of the Baccarat. Yeah. All right, that's enough. That's enough. Okay. That's great. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you, Lori. Now, we always talk about our section here of the Nighthawk Home Shopping Network, and that's this wonderful piece of vinyl that we recorded the West End Blues on. There it is. And I always call it a piece of vinyl because it's not recorded at 33 like a regular long play record, or 45 is to say the extended play. This is recorded at 78 RPM. Yeah, I know. So I just want to make that clear before you buy this, because I don't want you to be disappointed by taking this home, unwrapping it, and say, oh boy, I can't wait to hear the Nighthawks. And if you put it at 33 and a third, it's going to sound like this, really slow. No good. All right, that's enough. Okay, so make sure you check that out. All right. Now, here's a song that we got requested for last year, and we finally got around to playing it here. It's written by the great Milton Ager and Jack Yellen, who we're going to salute right after this again. And this is comes from a show called John Murray's Almanac from 1929. John Murray was a producer. Yeah, I know, here in New York. And the big tune of this show was "I May Be Wrong, But I Think You're Wonderful." Da 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 da. And Red Nichols happened to have recorded a bunch of that show. He might have been in that show with his band. And here is some brass parts, right? And then let's get some saxophone parts out here. Saxophones, here we go. Good. And we're gonna bring out the rhythm section on the other side. This is called the New Yorker. Red McKenzie singing on the record, and he couldn't make it here tonight either. So whatever, so I'll do the best I can with this vocal here. If I can get this music together. It's gotta get taped up here a little bit. Are you ready there, Devin? Yeah, very good. Nice, all right. Let me put all this stuff away here. So much stuff. All right, let me know when you're ready. Make sure you have the right part, because it sounds better if you have the right piece of music. This is called The New Yorker by Ager and Yellen. It might be a Glenn Miller arrangement. We don't know. It sounds like a Glenn Miller arrangement. Glenn Miller, who you know from the 30s, was a very busy trombonist and arranger in the 1920s, working for a lot of people. Ben Pollack, Red Nichols, and various dates. 1, 2, 1, 'Aristocrats, patrons of automats, Reginald Lee Delancey Street, they all do the New Yorker. Beggars and swallowtails, bootleggers out of jails, poets and pugs, clubmen and thugs, they all do the New Yorker. College grads and smart young lads who married the boss's daughter, Winston Knox and fancy hawks, all shake the thing like Ethel Waters, put that music good and high. under that melting pot, and you've got what they call the New Yorker. Dan Levenson. The New Yorker. We have to be one of the few bands on West 44th Street playing that song here. Hand that one back in. Right. All right, we're going to play something without our music, without our charts. And this came in as a request here. It's normally we take requests, but we don't play them. But this one came on the back of a $20 bill, so I couldn't refuse. So that's $2 for each guy, which is good. Anyway, it's another Milton Ager and Jack Yellen tune called Ain't She Sweet. And they wrote a lot of great songs together. Happy Feet, Happy Days You're Here Again. A lot of up-tempo kind of fun stuff. And they wrote some sad tunes too, but here's Ain't She Sweet. I think we're gonna play it in E flat for a while. Then we might change it to C for a while and then go back to E flat. It's gonna be one of those catch as catch can, and I hope I don't get caught. Okay? 1, 2, 1, 1. Andy Stein there. Stay in this key, stay in this key. Ain't she sweet? See her coming down the street. I ask you very confidentially, ain't she sweet? Ain't she nice? Look her over once or twice. Ask you very confidentially, ain't she sweet? Just cast an eye in her direction. Oh me, oh my, ain't that perfection? In the right direction, I repeat. Don't they think she's kinda neat? Ask you very confidentially in 3 flats. Chess there on the trombone, John Kelso on the trumpet, Dan Levenson on the clarinet, and we had a nice banjo solo. Finally, a banjo solo by Devin Cortan. Yeah, man. Wow. He's the newest of the Nighthawks. Yes, there you go. And you might have noticed our pianist, as we always do on those numbers, he switches over and plays the celeste. And it's nice to have the celeste with now a couple of microphones on it so you all can hear it. And Peter Yaron, our celeste specialist. You know, play a little bit just in case. Nice. It's very pretty, it's very pretty, that's right. All right, and then the next soloist was yours truly. Struggling as usual on the old bass saxophone. Thank you. Thank you so much. The Nighthawks, we always say the more you drink, the better it sounds. And the more I drink, the better I think it sounds. Let's try it. How sweet it is. All right. And then we have Uri Zillick back there on the drums. Nice. Give him a nice hand. Yeah. And finally, a gentleman that you've known and heard for many, many years, played with Garrison Keillor, Bob Dylan, Sir Paul McCartney, Sleep at the Wheel. You just went to a reunion at Commander Cody, right? Yep. Yeah, on the West Coast. And in those bands, he played the violin and the baritone sax, but for us, he does that, but he also plays the phono fiddle. And that's Andy Stein. Andy Stein. Yay! There you go. Okay, the phono fiddle. He calls it the phony fiddle, which it is in a way. It's a long story behind the phono fiddle. Check it out on Wikipedia, phono fiddle or Stroh, S-T-R-O-H violin. Stroh violin, like the beer, Stroh. People said, Vince, you talk sometimes too much, but I try to limit it a little bit. So I want to say, if you want to read more about what the kind of music we're doing and who else is doing this kind of music around, I suggest you check out this wonderful newspaper called The Syncopated Times. And we have some free copies, free, over at the merch table. This will entice you. This will entice you to look at stuff that's not for free. But anyway, so check it out. And we have a little ad in there, which is this card, this wonderful card that I always talk about. And I'm going to try to meet and greet every single one of you folks out there and give you a card, because not only to remind you to come back to see us, but in case you have some crumbs on the table at home, you know, there you go, take them off, take them off. And also, if you buy Will's wonderful book on songwriting, you're going to need a bookmark, okay? Because you can't get through that book in one night unless you're like me, drink 5 cups of coffee before you go to bed. You don't do that. So anyway, let's try to get the bookmark in the book, and let's see what happens. There it is. You did it. All right. Wow. Fantastic. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh. Oh, man. Oh, man. Look at this. Nice. Will is going to be getting into magic. He's writing a book on magic, on making more Birdland cards come out of his sleeve and more customers in the seats, or something like that. All right, moving right along. Well, usually at this juncture, I look out there and I say, I wonder if someone out there has got a request.
It's hard to.
Oh, it's hard to laugh or cry. All right, I would have never guessed. Okay, so let's get that one. Who remembers the number of that?
165 red. Oh.
Right, 65 red.
Okay. All right, we're going to get it right for you here. Here we go.
Yeah, 165 red.
All right, here it is. Okay. This is a tune that came up from the wonderful jazz scene in Kansas City. I've visited Kansas City a few times, and they have some great archives there. The great Chuck Haddocks has got a marvelous, wonderful collection at the university there. Check out Chuck Haddocks, the Mars Sound Archive. Anyway, he took me around, showed me places where the great Benny Moten used to play. Benny Moten had, to me, the top jazz band in Kansas City at the time. There were some other great jazz bands like Andy Kirk and Coon Sanders, but I always liked these guys because they had some great things to say. And eventually the Benny Moten band kind of morphed or developed into the Count Basie band. That's a whole other story that you got to read about, kind of under some unfortunate circumstances. But anyway, this was recorded back in 1928. The great late Frank Powers did some work on this along with Peter Yaron and a bunch of us. It's hard to laugh or smile. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, all right. It's hard to laugh or smile. Catch a fly. Okay. All right, that's beautiful, guys. Nice little fun between the baritone sax and the tenor sax. You got what we call a little call and response. That later became pretty big in the 1940s and 30s, with the big bands. Let's see now. Let's slow things down a little bit and play a song that originally comes from 1927. This song originally appeared in a show called, I just forgot the name of the show, but it's what is it?
Hit the deck?
I don't think it was Hit the Deck, no.
What song is it?
It's Sometimes I'm Happy.
Oh.
I forget. But anyway, Vincent Youmans and Irving Caesar. I just had a brain, moment, what did he call? And Benny Goodman revived it in 1935 with the great Henderson brothers, Fletcher and Horace Henderson, and it's called Sometimes I'm Happy. And here it is. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes I'm happy there. Benny Goodman arrangement done by Fletcher and Horace Henderson, and that was Peter Anderson on the tenor, and yeah, man, and Joe Boga playing that great Bunny Berrigan part. Dan Levenson on the clarinet. Wow. Well, let's see, we got a couple of more tunes, and we're going to play a tune that was played by a band called Fess Williams and his orchestra. Fess Williams not too well remembered these days, but he had a hot band up in Harlem, and Fess was short for professor. They used to call him the professor, and he played wild clarinet and alto and had some wild arrangements made for him back in those days. This is written by a fellow named Sidney Easton, who was also known as a great actor, but he wrote some songs on the side. And the other crazy thing about Fess Williams, I knew his daughter. We used to play this place in New York, now gone, called the Cajun, as most clubs we used to play are now gone. But she came in sometimes and would talk about her dad. And Fess Williams had a nephew, a young up-and-coming jazz musician called Charles Mingus. And yeah, and Mingus would rehearse and do all kinds of playing there, and it was amazing that somebody from the old time days to get with the new time days, but that's what happens sometimes in jazz. It's called All for Grits and Gravy. All for Grits and Gravy. We recorded this for Boardwalk Empire, but I don't think they ever released it, so you got a chance to hear it. 1, 2, 1, 1. And Gravy. Okay. Well, We had a great time playing for you folks, but I'm sorry to say we've run out of time. Yeah, it's true. But we had a fantastic bunch of songs here that even some good requests, you know, that even ones that nobody paid for, but it was okay. It was okay. So we take it in good stride. We want to thank you for coming to Birdland, world's greatest jazz nightclub. We're very humbled to be, very humbled to be part of this great jazz legacy that's been going on for 75 years. Check out that program that you have on your table. Take it with you. Come back and catch some of the other great groups. It's a varied program, and every week is different outside of some of the set bands that are here, like the Louis Armstrong Band on Wednesday and the wonderful band on Thursday doing the music of New Orleans. But we've got cabaret night on Monday nights upstairs, so it's really amazing what's going on. And you folks out there in Radio Land, please come on into New York. It's fine. Everything's great. The floodwaters have receded, and I put my boat away this morning. You didn't have to, which I took home. I don't know if you saw some of the floods on the subway. It was interesting. That's one way to clean the subways. But anyway, so we're here every Monday and Tuesday, and then we do our broadcasts. And I hope that you can continue to support live music, help out musicians. And we always like to say, hey, if you can, try bring some young folks to concerts, whether it's a Broadway show or a jam session, or just got people hanging around at a campfire doing old songs or something like that, or a parade or a jazz club. It's live music, and that's what it counts. We're going to close up with a tune that the great Gershwin brothers wrote in 1930, George and Ira, of course. This was a few years later, originally done by the wonderful Don Redman, and it was transcribed by that great trombone player at Jazz at Lincoln Center, Christopher Crenshaw. It's called I Got Rhythm. 1, 2, 1, 2.